Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy, C.O. Anthony, and my main man, Bryce Ward. What's up, Bryce?
Not much, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic. We're up bright and early. Hell, I've been up since 2 o'clock, I think. So, with that said, as always, we got some shit to get into. Since our last recording, we've had some updates in the playoff standings. So, for example, the Indiana Pacers closed out the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who's overrated now? Bryce, let me ask you, how did you feel about that outcome as far as the Pacers defeating the Cavaliers?
I was pretty surprised. I think Cleveland has more questions for the offseason to answer now than they did before. I don't think they were expecting to come out this quick either. It makes it seem more like last year wasn't quite the fluke that people were saying Indiana, had. They had success starting last year. Clearly, Halliburton was playing with a chip on his shoulder after the criticism. Yeah, so he went out there.
Overrate that, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Overrate that.
he went out there with something to prove, and he did it. So I mean, kudos to him. Indiana, didn't quite get the praise I don't think that they did last season, and really took out one of the front runners for the East in a series that I don't think a lot of teams were giving them, a lot of people were giving them a chance in. So yeah.
You're gonna hate
I'm
me
glad they
today.
did though because it forces Cleveland into a more interesting situation going forward. So.
Absolutely. Well, our three viewers are gonna hate me today, but I'm not gonna gloat too much. Let me ask you this question: Donovan Mitchell has never been past the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they had injuries, they had people in and out of the lineup during the series. Do you think it's time for us to start looking at Mitchell as if he's not that guy anymore? Do you think it's that time is creeping up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you can only make it so far. I think you're forced to ask those questions because it's not like he hasn't put up performances to make you think he is the guy. But if you're only making it so far with him being the leading scorer, then maybe there's something else there. But uh, yeah, because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a coach. I don't know if it's
It's
a
not
certain
no.
task
We're
at
not even gonna talk
hand.
about the coach.
Cleveland's got a pretty good team. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's being able to stay healthy. Maybe that's part of the problem for Mitchell anyway. So
It was the coach last year. We can't
I know.
use that 2 years in a row
Mhm.
unless you got to fire Kenny Atkinson. I mean, come on.
That's what I'm saying. So
I think isn't he coach of the year? I think I don't even remember. I'm not even paying attention to these awards anymore. Look, there. This is a. I know you don't like conspiracies, but one, fuck you. Two, there's
when I do, so
there's an old NBA conspiracy that they try not to announce the regular season MVP until the conference
mhm.
finals. So today we know we got Shea. No, who we got today? Shit. we got Jokic today, and I believe OKC. What's going on with that series? Help me out here, because I'm so going right now. Help me out.
It's 3-3, man.
It's 3-3. Oh yeah, because Minnesota moved on. Forgive me. So
Mhm.
today, such a fucking cluster. Today's game is going to dictate who wins the regular season MVP. Even though they lie and say that they voted weeks ago at the end of the regular season. No. Today's winner is going to be the MVP. You can book that, okay? You can book it. Um, with that being said, the Minnesota Timberwolves, of course, are in the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row. Minnesota started off rough after they made the cat trade. I ripped Julius Randle
Mhm.
apart. He's been playing great in playoffs. I know you've kind of been a Minnesota fan for most of the season, thinking that at some point they might turn it around. Do you see now that Anthony Edwards is ready to take that next step?
Yeah, I mean, he may not make it out of the conference final, so I
They
mean,
beat Denver last year.
yeah, they did.
I mean, they whooped their ass. And I already know you picking Denver to win today. I already know that. So
Yeah,
how excited?
it's weird because it's a tough matchup for Denver.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
they're built to play against Denver. Let's be real.
Mm.
Um, if the Thunder win, I'd pick Minnesota to beat the Thunder, but I don't know if I'd pick them to beat Denver again because I think Denver's good enough to come out of the West. So it's interesting. I do if it's Denver, Minnesota, I think it comes down to like a game 7. Uh,
Denver will have home court in that series.
yeah, yeah. I think Denver rights their wrongs from last season of getting beat by them. But if it's the Thunder, uh, I'm picking Minnesota to come out of that
I,
one. So,
I think I agree with you. I'm picking Minnesota over OKC.
mm,
Over Denver, I think I'm still going to pick Minnesota because of something that happened earlier this week that we're going to touch on. I
mm.
think this is Ant's time to snatch.
It might be. I'm just
This is time to snatch it.
I'm just so set on Denver. I'm like, I'm sticking with Denver.
Bro, you've been on Denver for 2 years, bro.
I know. I'm going down with the chip this season if they don't win it. Yeah.
So, God, they're gonna ban us. I don't know if you're impaired right now, but I'm definitely impaired right now. So, with
Mm-hmm.
that with that being said, I want to break down some of the Boston New York series, and there's a couple of God. I wish my other guys were on here right now. There's a couple things I want to get into. So first, I'm going to break it down first, and then I'm going to ask for your opinion on it because it's a lot of bullshit floating out there. So we get news yesterday that Jaylen Brown was playing with a partially torn meniscus. We get that. I'm so sick of these players getting beat and then having all of these injuries all of a sudden. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. But I will say this to the whole entire state of motherfucking New York. Thank you. Thank you so much for exposing the fraudulent Boston Celtics. Is it biased? Yes. Is it based on basketball reasons? Yes. This team is a fraud. They've always been a fraud. If they played New York last year, New York would have beat them. Now, for everyone who says, oh, they only lost because Jason Tatum was playing. No. New York had control of that series from start. From the fucking start. Bryce? Now do you see that Boston's were frauds the entire time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought they would be beaten. It's not like I thought they were unbeatable, but from watching the series with Orlando, I could definitely tell that they weren't quite as strong as people might have thought they were. And I will say this: I do think that at least this season it came off the team and the fan base a bit soft. I know people have been saying that, but I got to see it firsthand, and yeah, I do think the way that the way that they're handed certain things, and then the way they complain, it comes off as like a spoiled, selfish kind of franchise, and from from the from the players to the fans for sure, it can be a bit annoying. What's funny is Boston having to put up with a bigger fan base than their own because dude, the Knicks fans, they were out having their own parade after they finished Boston off. They were in the streets like they were having a parade. I couldn't believe that. I was like, and then I was thinking though, I was like, people can poke fun at like the Magic or whatever team, Kings, whoever you want to, for the lack of success. I think you said the Knicks hadn't been to the conference final since like 2000 or something crazy.
Hold that thought.
Mhm.
2000, they went to the conference finals for the last time, and that was actually the same year they went to the NBA finals.
Yeah, so it's like I couldn't imagine living in a city like that with a team with a reputation and a fan base like that, and to have people point fingers at the small market teams and to make jokes. It's like, bitch, the Knicks have been sitting over here for like 25 years with no success, with all the money and the biggest fan base you could ask for, and can't find success. So it's let, let's remember it's hard to win in this league, and it's hard to find continued success in this league. So these other fan bases that are spoiled and soft, you better appreciate what you have, because the league is coming in in a way that it's going to be harder to sustain your franchise's championships going forward. There's going to be more parity. There's going to be less of the major market teams gobbling up these huge contracts and just buying championships. I do think it's going to be harder to do what these teams have been doing in the past. So I think it's good for the league. All this parity. It's gonna be hard to repeat going forward, as if it wasn't hard before.
They should have been the champs to begin with. So, with that being said, if David Stern was still around, the Knicks would have been bad for so long. Just saying. They went to the finals in '94 and lost. Went to the finals in 2000 and lost. Last won the championship in 1972. As with Boston, it's always fuck New York too. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So all this week, I'm just talking to all my Knicks fans and friends I have. We're just having a ball because I'm like, look, Heat Nation got y'all back. Whatever y'all need us to do, we'll do it. We want these frauds exposed. We want them exposed. What do you think about? I don't know if you watched the last game. It was so bad. It was so bad. They lost by 37 or 38 points. And I'm not going to talk about Jason Tatum until a little later, but just the shots that they were taking was horrible. Joe Mazzulla is the worst coach I've ever seen in my life. He will not adjust to save his life. If the three-point shot isn't falling, fucking do something else. Please, God, do something else. He's a fucking idiot. He's a fucking idiot.
It's funny because when the 3-point shot is falling, it's nice to see. But there's not like an uglier brand of basketball when it is not falling.
Dude, Boston made it so easy for New York. They made it so easy for New York. All you have to do is play a little defense, have your guys be quick to the perimeter, make them miss threes, which creates long rebounds, which creates fast break points. My God, basketball is so simple. How on earth do you? And look, Brad Stevens was supposed to be some fucking genius. Can you make a phone call and tell your coach to change the fucking game plan, please? Please. Joe Mazzulla got out-coached by Tom Thibodeau, who gets out-coached by everyone. Make it make sense. Really? This is the first year we haven't heard anyone complain about Tom Thibodeau's coaching. This is the first year we've never heard it.
So do you think they move on from Mazzulla?
No, they don't have the balls to, because they're bitches. They don't have the balls to move on from Mazzulla, and Jason Tatum gives them a nice little blanket to land on. So, with that said, again, to all the people who say Boston lost only because Jason Tatum went down, fuck you. I as much as I loathe Jason Tatum, loathed him. I'll tell you a quick story. My girl was watching this show All American on Netflix yesterday, and I was watching it with her for a few episodes. It's like some girly show, right? They're looking at football players and shit. So there's this light skinned boy on the show, and the light skinned boy got into an argument with a quote unquote street guy. And the street guy said, "Who was that Jason Tatum looking motherfucker over there?" It was the fun. I kid you not. It was the funniest thing I ever heard. And I was like, God damn. So everyone knows he's a soft pussy. Dude, it was hilarious. Dude, this was on Netflix. Bro, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. Going back to Jason Tatum. I'm sorry the kid tore his Achilles. I think, and a lot of people think, that this will shift the NBA for years to come if he can't come back and be what he was, because his trajectory was so high. Usually, though, older players have this injury, and they're not the same when they come back. They have to change their game and whatnot. What do you think about the impact of this injury for Boston moving forward? Because we already know Boston's going to break that team up. They were going to break it up last year if they wouldn't have won. They're definitely going to break it up this year. Their payroll is going to be over $500 million, which will be the highest payroll in the history of the NBA if they don't break it up. So how do you think this affects the Celtics and the Eastern Conference going forward? Because Tatum's going to be out for a year.
Mm-hmm. At least like 80-90% of the season will be out.
Yeah.
It's big time because one, like you said, Boston has to make moves in the immediate future because of the luxury tax. So they're gonna have to break up some of that team regardless. It doesn't matter. So, and then the Jason Tatum injury adds to that. You're not gonna win a championship next season probably either. So it's like, what are you playing for? What do you need to set yourself up for? What are you trying to accomplish? You still got Jaylen Brown. You're still gonna have a lot of these guys on the roster. Who do you move on from? Is it time, Holiday, that kind of thing? Porzingis, is it time to find a place for him? But it opens up the East in a way that tied with Cleveland second round exit that I don't know if everybody was expecting so quickly. So the East is wide open for some of these like Pacers, Orlando, even Detroit to an extent. Milwaukee has a ton of questions. Sarah, there's something with your audio. I need you to fix that. Mute yourself for a moment while you fix that fucking dumb noise. So, yeah, it's a good time to be in the East if you're gonna make a title run.
So you really gonna disrespect my team like that? You really gonna do that?
Yeah, it's rebuild season for you. So
fuck you, bitch. Fuck you.
The Knicks haven't won a title yet. Just chill out over there. It's a good time to be the Pacers, honestly. You should really be excited for the next few seasons there, because with the what you're doing this season, what you did last season, you should be poised to be atop the East or around one of the top Eastern teams for the next few seasons. Boston's an interesting spot though because it's an injury. So yeah, you got to expect when Tatum comes back, the duo of him and Brown, no matter who else is around them, is going to be good enough to have them as one of the better teams in the East for the following season. So it's like, what do they do next season? It's do you let your guys rest the whole season? You know what I mean? It's like, is it going to be a Jaylen Brown rampage season and you're just like a middle team? That's kind of what I'm expecting. Jaylen Brown to have some good numbers and then them to just be an average team. I don't know who for sure is getting the chopping block on that team, but there's going to be probably more than one, if I had to guess, leaving. So it's a very up in the air moment for Boston, which for a team that's been pretty solid the last few seasons in terms of building a contender and delivering on that. It's I don't think they're. I knew that they were expecting to have to answer some of these questions, but that Tatum injury really threw a wrench into I think into what they are going to have to do for next season too. So it's going to be interesting, and it really sets the East up in a dogfight more than it already was.
Let me not break news. Jaylen Brown's not going to be on that team next year. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care what Dallas says. If you're not trading the first pick, we're not gonna do that. Boston's already interviewed Cooper Flag. They've already done it. They're gonna try to use Jaylen Brown to get Cooper Flag on their team. And I think Dallas needs to think very hard about that move because you're gonna have Kyrie coming back. You already have Anthony Davis. If you add Jaylen Brown to that might be really nice. I'm just saying. So when I saw that Boston's talking to Cooper Flag, I'm like, make it make sense because Boston's nowhere close to the first pick of the draft. They're nowhere close to it. So why would you even interview the kid? So I think Boston's going to try to dangle Jaylen Brown out there. So like if you look at the screen, I sent this to you the other day. Boston's estimated payroll next year is going to be $227 million. The tax they have to pay on that is $238 million. This has never happened in the history of the NBA that the tax you have to pay is actually higher than your actual fucking payroll. So, yeah, they can move Drew Holiday. They can move Porzingis. That's not going to put the ding in that number like moving Jaylen Brown will, who up until Jason Tatum signed his contract, Jaylen Brown briefly had the biggest contract in the history of the NBA. I think they're talking with Dallas. I think if you're Dallas, do you make that move or not?
No, absolutely not.
Are you serious? Jaylen Brown on Dallas would give you a championship quicker than Cooper Flag will.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I believe I'm not that big. I'm not that big on Jaylen Brown.
You disgust me.
If I'm trading the number one pick, I'm getting more. I'm going to get someone better than Brown then.
Who the fuck else are you going to get? LeBron James and Bronny? Who are you going to get?
Giannis.
No.
Yeah.
No. It doesn't make sense for Milwaukee. It does. But Milwaukee's not talking to Cooper Flag. Boston's talking to Cooper Flag, okay? I'm telling you.
Well, they
there's
they shouldn't.
There's something cooking there, okay?
That's fine. But I mean, if I'm Dallas, I would shoot a little higher than Jaylen Brown if I'm Dallas. But we know that they don't value their own talent, so.
Well, and here's my thing. If you have Kyrie, if you have Anthony Davis, you don't need that 1,000% alpha like Giannis. You don't need that. You just need a player you can plug in, and there's Jaylen Brown right there. That's what I'm saying. Because AD still got to get his touch. Look, AD.
I agree with you, but not. You don't get my number one pick in the draft that has Cooper Flag. Last year, I would have been more willing to do that, but not the Cooper Flag draft. I'm sorry, he's gonna change a franchise. So no.
Maybe. Boston's talking to Cooper Flag. That's all I know. Now, here's another question for you. I understand that no matter what Dallas did, Jalen Brunson was leaving anyway because he didn't want to play behind Luka. But now do you think Dallas regrets that? Because you traded away Luka, and now you see Jalen Brunson killing it in New York. Like, if you're Dallas, do you want to revisit that?
I mean, if you're Dallas, do you want to revisit the last 3 seasons? I mean, I don't know.
And that wasn't Nico, I don't believe.
And then
Jay,
look, it's hard to argue with any of it because it's not like the thing is Anthony Davis is just older and more injury prone. For that reason alone, I wouldn't have done the trade. However, you are and you couldn't have predicted Kyrie's injury. Okay,
right.
so but on paper, you do have Anthony Davis. You do have Kyrie. You've got Clay, who still
Mhm.
plays basketball.
I mean, decently, but he's on the
Yeah.
decline.
So it's not like you don't have anything. You got the number one pick, and you got the number one pick in a year where it seems like that I haven't seen this kind of hype for a college player in a very, very long time. So you're in a good spot. You kind of got saved, of course, by getting this number one pick, and all the shenanigans that go
Oh, it
around.
was bullshit. It was bullshit. It was bullshit, and it was fixed. I don't give a fuck what no one says. It was bullshit, and it was fixed.
Cooper flags that I ain't go to Charlotte.
Yeah. And look, and fuck the NBA media machine that came out the day after trying to say, "Oh, everyone who thinks this fixed are idiots." No, anyone who thinks it's real are fucking idiots. It's fucking fake. Get out of here.
And you think it's tied into the UFO disclosure recently?
No, it's not tied
It's
into that, but that's real
all tied
too.
together. Do you think the
That's real too.
aliens are Knicks fans?
They made the call. They made the call. Look. David Stern is somewhere still alive, like Palpatine pulling the strings. Okay, that's the only way the Knicks are relevant when David Stern was alive. Okay?
Is that why this NBA generation is so off? It's Disney trying to fix their trilogy by bringing Palpatine back. That's what it is.
Bro,
No,
when I sent you that video, I'm pretty sure I sent it to you of these Detroit Piston players doing this dance to this woman. I was like, what is going on here? what multiverse are we living in? Like what? We're gonna wrap up this train wreck soon, but I do want to talk about something. About a month ago, I spoke about things that the NBA could do to kind of save the ratings. And I mentioned Michael Jordan.
mm-hmm.
I had no fucking idea that negotiations were going on for Michael Jordan to be a special contributor to NBC's coverage, once they get the NBA back this. Bro, I had no idea. But it's fucking genius. Now, we don't know how often Michael's going to be on there. But for them to pull Michael Jordan, who doesn't have to work another day in his fucking life, for him to do that is fucking huge. And it's the shot in the arm that NBC needed, bringing NBA coverage from TNT over to NBC, which I know you didn't grow up with NBA on NBC. I did.
How often he'll actually be on?
I don't know. And that's the wild card. I do know Amazon, who has a little piece of coverage, they hired Blake Griffin to do studio shit. I'm like, no one cares about Blake Griffin. But anyways, how do you feel about
Blake Griffin?
How do you feel about the NBA on NBC pulling Michael Jordan in, which I think is like one of the best things that could possibly happen right now?
I was wondering why, and I think it's Michael is just waiting for LeBron to get close to retirement.
I like that.
He's like, I'm not gonna share the league with LeBron until he's on the way out.
It might be something to that. It really might be something to that. I think it could be huge because it will bring old school casual fans back in. I think it was a great move, and like I said, I was floored. I was absolutely floored when I saw it. Another thing, real quick, that we can talk about, which I forgot to talk about last week, which is definitely my fault, is the retirement of Greg Popovich. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of your thoughts on Pop?
It was interesting because people have been predicting this retirement for a long time now, and he kept kind of like putting down those rumors year after year, and then it got to the point where I was like, this motherfucker's never gonna retire. He's just gonna die out there on the court one day. And so when I heard the news, I was surprised. I knew he'd had the health issue earlier on in the season. He really wasn't around much this season, anyways, and so I knew because of that it was probably leaning this direction. And then I saw where he had another incident at a restaurant, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is probably it." And then I think shortly after the news came out, and so I wasn't surprised because of the health issues he had this season, but it seemed like he was going to coach forever, and so it's weird to think about NBA basketball and not think about Popovich too. So no, I mean, there's nothing but good things to say about him and his career. So it's gonna, like I said, it's just gonna be weird not having him coach the Spurs anymore. So
I'll say this about Pop. The way that he took over the head coach of that team, took over the head coach spot of that team, I despised Pop for a long time because Bob Hill was the coach of the San Antonio Spurs with David Robinson. Went to the conference finals, could not get to the NBA finals. David Robinson, Pop was the general manager at this time. David Robinson went out with a back injury. The Spurs tanked, and they drafted Tim Duncan. Okay, they tanked to get the first pick. That's when Pop fired Bob Hill and became the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs in Tim Duncan's rookie year. 2 years later, they won a championship. But I always thought that was a dick move. You tell the man to tank, he takes, you get the first pick, and then you fucking fire him. It was a really dick move. Okay, so. But then that Spurs started winning, Pop's this good coach, and you got Spurs culture and shit like that. So Pop kind of grew on me. His little interviews and shit grew on me. So then I learned to love Pop. Because I'm like, okay, I'm a dick, he's a dick. Dicks tend to get along, okay? But I still didn't like the way he did that. But we're going to see what's going to happen with Spurs. Next year, Wemby's going to come back, hopefully. Chris Paul has hit 40, believe it or not. They have a second-year head coach. So we'll see what Spurs do. But I am gonna miss Pop. I love Pop. I still hate the way you came in, but that was 30 years ago. But no, I love Pop. I want to say this. You haven't seen this image on the screen since September 8th of 2023, even if you were paying attention at that time. I have been going back and forth for almost 2 years on if I should relaunch the Hardwood Nation website to be a companion piece to the podcast, where the podcast actually started off as a companion piece to the website. But no one reads shit anymore, right? No one reads shit anymore. But I still have relationships with all the writers that I brought up. And I was thinking, the Hardwood Nation started 15 years ago, right before LeBron James made his decision. Then our voices came back right before the bubble when the NBA was on their social justice movement. And we got views every goddamn day. It was huge. Now that the NBA is coming back home to NBC since 2002, it's time to relaunch this thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a team, a writing team. We're going to highlight their posts here. I'm coming out of retirement. Bryce, how do you feel about the fucking website, which will make a comeback when the next season starts this fall?
It seems real exciting. I hope everybody. I look forward to reading the riveting articles.
You're such a Only because I've known you for like damn near 10 years at this point that I know how fucking sarcastic you're being. But god damn it, this is a passion project for me, and I'm gonna fucking do it.
That was me being nice. You both excited me with the news. I don't do good with news.
We're gonna lose like 10 subscribers after this podcast.
That's all we got left. I don't even think we have that many.
No, we got 136. Goddamn it, we got 136. But
we need to start watching.
But seriously, with that said, I've been going back and forth all week. One day I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. The next day I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have the energy. I'm getting older. I'm gonna do it. The Hardwood Nation website will relaunch this fall. From now until then, I'm gonna start working on building a writing team. This might be the last hurrah for the website, but I think this is the perfect time to do it with the NBA coming back home. Like this. And then when I saw the Michael Jordan news, I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is it.
You know, the NFL has Tom Brady out there, and he has his own flavor of commentating and
it's horrible.
The game. What do you think? Like, what kind of commentator do you think Mike would like? Do you think he's gonna have a glass of wine in his hand the whole time? Like, what kind of commentator do you expect MJ to be?
So Michael's not going to be commentating games. He's not.
No.
So he's probably going to be like the voice of special segments. Okay. I will say this about Michael Jordan because, of course, everyone knows I hated him growing up. Once I became an adult and saw that he was a dick, I'm like, okay, I'm a dick too. We can get along. No one can tell Michael Jordan what to do. Michael's going to do what the fuck he wants to do. So if he wants to sit on there with a glass of wine, he's going to sit on there with a glass of wine. If he want to have two bitches in their 20s on his arm, he's going to do that. If he wants to sit on there and talk shit about his son's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, Larsa Pippen, he's going to fucking do that too. No one walking the face of this earth can tell Michael Jordan what to do. I will say this. I want to see one thing. We saw Shaq and Kobe make up. We saw Larry Bird and Magic Johnson talk about their relationship. I need to see Charles Barkley and Michael Jordan heal their friendship. And this is the perfect avenue for them to do that. Okay. I hope we get it. You know, TNT is still going to have Inside the NBA. It's going to be simulcast on ESPN. Even though Charles is talking shit about ESPN right now, they're still going to have it. Because growing up in the 90s with the NBA on NBC, you had four great players. Michael, Charles, Hakeem, and a young Shaq. That's what you had every fucking Sunday during the NBA season. I need to see that. I just need it for my soul. I need to see Charles and Michael get back together. I need to see that. So, any last thoughts? Because we covered a lot today. I know you're picking the Nuggets today in Game 7 in Oklahoma City. And Eric Gore's out with, well, he's not out, but he's down with a hamstring injury, so we don't know if he's going to play today. So, last thing, your odds of Denver winning the game today. It's at 3:30 today Eastern time.
50-50.
Dude, Eric Gore's been great. When I saw he had the hammy injury, I'm like, God damn it. Hey, Michael Porter Jr., my boy, get off Tinder and step up, bro. Mm-hmm. So you got 50-50 today?
Yeah.
As much as I love stories, as much as I love progress, as much as I love young teams like the Indiana Pacers, in one game, I'm not going to go against Jokic. I'm just not.
This is the type of game that can turn me into a believer for the Thunder. This is the type of game that it's like, this is why you lose a playoff series, because you have to learn this type of game. So you can take a leap or it can be a learning experience, but either way, this is probably the biggest game of a lot of those guys' career.
Yeah, I mean, you can lay an egg like Boston did.
Mm-hmm. You can lay it out.
Orange and blue skies, everybody! Orange and blue skies! With that said, but I will say this. because the Eastern Conference playoffs starts on Wednesday. Okay, so you got New York and then the Pacers. New York has home court advantage. New York, again, thank you for picking off the Boston Celtics. I appreciate you. I love you. You're going to lose to the Indiana Pacers. Who do you think is going to represent the Eastern Conference, Bryce, in the NBA Finals?
The Knicks.
I will not go against Tyrese Halliburton. I won't do it.
Fuck Halliburton. Fuck the Pacers. It's the Knicks.
Overrate that.
Brunson's going to overrate you all the way to the foul line this series. So I hope you look forward to watching that.
Last thing before we sign off. The last Knicks team that made the conference finals, Rick Brunson was the backup point guard. God damn it. 25 years later, his son's the starting point guard. I would never say anything bad about Jalen Brunson. That kid is fucking amazing. He's a great leader. Even though he loves Drake, and I saw a video of a young him singing to a Drake song, and it was just like so much light skin energy, I was disgusted. So, with that said, please like, share, subscribe our content, drop comments below. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.